Live into the show here, folks, on the hottest show on the streets on a Monday. In my own words, the podcast with yours truly, Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. And I guess before we can get into Brent Beard here, we'll jump into kind of a pass rusher segment, defensive segment here for the Crimson Tide. And I mentioned on Friday of last week where there are two questions that Alabama fans they like to ask at this point in time. And it's, number one, will this group or this program ever get back to having that feared defense, that well-respected defense that nobody wanted to play in college football? That was question one. And question two was, would Alabama get back to being that power run team? Can they get back to running the football, imposing its will, controlling the pace of the game, despite the fact that Coach Saban knows how much the game has changed in terms of teams wanting to air it out and pass the ball more? So we answered the second part of the question last week. Now we get into the actual defensive perspective, and I think defensively, the biggest thing that Coach Saban wants to get back to or is going to have to do is find ways to develop more pass rushers, more edge rushers, more guys that can affect the quarterback. Because going back to, first off, the 2018 season, although Isaiah Buggs and Quentin Williams both did phenomenal jobs, they both did a great job, getting sacks and pressuring the quarterback. If you go to the national championship game against Clemson, where Trevor Lawrence just had himself a field day, I mean, absolutely no pressure at all. I mean, the guy just sat back in the pocket there and basically, read a book, watched Oprah, drove a Maserati, sipped some beer, and was able to still throw touchdown passes in that football game. Absolutely no pressure to one Lawrence for the Tigers. And Alabama had Christian Miller. He didn't play that game due to injuries. Ayabi Anoma was on the sideline just freaking out because he wanted to be on the field. Alabama did not put him on the field. And, of course, now Tosh Lupoi no longer with the Crimson Tide, and neither is Anoma. And then the 2019 season, as good, as productive as Anthony Jennings was, and he was, and Terrell Lewis had moments where when he wanted to come after the quarterback and affect the quarterback, he did, but there was so much invested into Raekwon Davis. It didn't happen. Of course, LeBron Ray, got hurt after game 3 of the season, didn't play for the remainder of the year. DJ Dale got hurt. So a lot of things went into the last 2 years of Alabama not having that pass rush. And the importance of this is that for opposing offensive coordinators, head coaches, offensive linemen and quarterbacks, they can be able to game plan if the defense only has one pass rusher. If you only have one notable edge rusher, they can scheme for that, in the scouting report. They can tell the quarterback, hey, change the protection scheme because so-and-so is going to be on this side of the ball. Or we'll have a tight end come in on the end line to help out with blocking. Or we'll keep a running back in to help chip block. So if you've got one notable edge rusher, the opposing offense can plan for that, versus if you've got multiple guys, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 guys, and there's no way the offense can plan for that. You can bring the rush off the left side, you can bring the rush off the right side, you can bring the rush up the middle. Quarterback may feel like there's no rush, and here comes a delayed blitz from somebody in the secondary. Coach Saban is trying to create havoc. He's trying to create pressure. He wants to create uncomfortability from all angles to the quarterback and not allowing that particular individual to be able to maneuver in the pocket, move his feet in the pocket, step up in the pocket, feel his way in the pocket, not allowing that quarterback to just sit back there, go through his progressions and pick the pick the secondary apart. So the reason why I'm bringing this point up is, first and foremost, you look at somebody like a Joshua McMillan here for a minute. And as good as Joshua McMillan is, a guy that is taking his 6th year at Alabama, hasn't got a chance to play a whole lot. He's played 18 games throughout his career. He maybe doesn't have the athleticism of a Dylan Moses or a Christian Harris. I remember last year in fall camp at the media day when Pete Golding talked to reporters about one thing that he loves about McMillan is his knowledge, his leadership, his information, his intelligence in terms of the system. He may not have just the quote-unquote athleticism, but he makes up for it in different ways. So, and a guy that, though he may not have just lightning quickness, he has enough athleticism, he has enough speed to have opposing offenses account for him. But the biggest thing for McMillan is his strength. He's 6'3", 240 pounds. And out of Memphis, Tennessee, played at Whitehaven High School. I got a friend of mine that played against him in high school. And the main thing he used to always tell me about McMillan is, Steven, tackling machine. Great guy, intelligent guy, physical, size. He's got enough athleticism, but this dude is a tackling machine, and he's got strength at the mesh point. He's got strength at the point of attack. And with him sort of telling me these things, it brings to me the idea, should Nick Saban take McMillan and move him to outside linebacker? Due to, at that weak side backer position, you've got a lot of, you got to have speed. You've got to have sideline quickness. You've got to have the ability to go, lateral, sideline to sideline, go laterally, eat up field. You got to cover a lot of ground. And with behind Christian Harris, you would have Alakaho and you would have Jalen Moody. But definitely want to move Joshua McMillan to outside linebacker. I think he's got the strength. He's got the ability to attack at the mesh point. May not have all the athleticism that you want, but he's fast enough. He's quick enough to frustrate, aggravate, make the quarterback feel uncomfortable. And I'm talking about this because you go back to the defenses that Crimson Tide fans love and admire. The 1992 defense, what made that group so great under Gene Stallings was you had Eric Curry teeing off from the quarterback, John Copeland teeing off. I mean, you had Jeff Teague that would come on a blitz. Like, pressure came from every end. I remember the documentary on that 92 team where Jay Barker, Alabama quarterback, kept saying that Miami's guy, Gino Torretta, kept looking at the ceiling all night because that's all he was able to do because the pressure came from everywhere. And then the 2015 through 2017 defenses, people looked at, well, all Alabama has is Tim Williams, but you had Ryan Anderson coming out for the quarterback, Jonathan Allen, Deron Payne, Dalvin Tomlinson, Deshaun Hand, Rashawn Evans, Reuben Foster, Minka Fitzpatrick off the edge, Ronnie Harrison. Just pressure came from so many angles. And going back to the 2015 college football playoff semifinal, the Cotton Bowl against Michigan State, I mean, poor Connor Cook was looking at his coach going, Coach, the creatures, man, they're everywhere. They're coming from everywhere. We can't block them. We can't neutralize them. We can't stop them. What the heck am I supposed to do? They're coming from everywhere. That was Alabama's defense coming from everywhere, frustrating, making the life of Connor Cook an absolute living nightmare. And that's what Nick Saban wants to get back to, finding ways to make the quarterback on the opposing team's life a living nightmare and developing as many pass rushes as possible. I know the Tides got Christian Barmore. He's a big-time pass rusher. This is a guy that, as I mentioned, 2 sacks last year, 5 quarterback hurries, 6 tackles for loss. He did this in limited action. He's going to be looking for an All-American year, whether Bama has him pressuring off the defensive end spot or pressure from the defensive tackle spot. Then you look at LeBron Ray, a guy that was poised for a huge junior year. Unfortunately, had the foot injury against South Carolina, missed the remainder of the season. He gets a chance to redo his junior year, his money year back over. He's going to be looking to create that pressure and helping out with Barmore. Then you got DJ Dale coming back. He is going to be helping out with the pressure from the interior spot at that nose tackle position. If you put Joshua McMillan outside, that's pressure coming from either the strong side area or the jack rush linebacker area, wherever you put him at, because he's got that strength to lock up at the mesh point, bat balls down, get into the vision of the quarterback, obstruct the vision. Like I said, make him feel your presence, make him feel uncomfortable. And then you've got, Dylan Moses who can rush. You've got Christian Harris who can fly in there. Whether the jack rush linebacker ends up being Drew Sanders or Will Anderson, both of those two, a lot of expectation will be on their shoulders. And even in the secondary, the question becomes, who does Nick Saban, who does Pete Golding, who does Carl Scott, Charles Kelly, who do they trust, right, to blitz on the edge? Bama trusted Javier Arenas in that role, and he excelled at it. Bama trusted Minka Fitzpatrick. Bama trusted Xavier McKinney. Who's the next guy that Bama can trust in this role to blitz off the edge, see it, read it, time it, hit it, get after the quarterback? Because after the last 2 years of not, sacking Trevor Lawrence in the college football playoff title game, and then this past season with the injuries, and you wanted more from Raekwon Davis, didn't get more. You wanted something from LeBron Ray, got hurt. You wanted something from DJ Dale, he gave you a little bit, but got hurt down towards the end of the year. The only person that was giving you something and giving you something consistently was, Christian Barmore, along with Anthony Jennings, and Christian Barmore played limited action. Terrell Lewis did some things, but he did some things when he wanted to actually do some things. So Alabama trying to get back to having that constant pressure in getting to the quarterback. But as always, folks, you want the best in news, notes, information. Download the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You can get this from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. Those podcast options, we got you on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, or iHeartRadio. If the good Lord sees fit, I will return on a Wednesday, continuing the conversation that is Crimson Tide football. But for now, people, husbands, love your wives. Wives, value those husbands. Children, do what I tell you to do. Make sure you're finding those ways to legitimately not be bored, getting you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. Protect yourself, protect the loved ones around you. And until next time, folks, this has been In My Own Words.